A long, long time ago, in a place not too far from a quiet village, the earth was tired. The land was dry and cracked, like a forgotten piece of pottery left under the sun for too long. Hardly anything grew there. The sky above seemed to share sadness, often cloaked in a dull, gray haze. In the distance, the small village looked on, as if it had given up hope on this patch of earth. It was a lonely, quiet place, waiting for a touch of life that seemed like it would never come. But where everyone saw desolation, one young boy saw potential. He would stand at the edge of this barren expanse, his small feet planted firmly on the dusty ground, and gaze out not with sadness, but with a spark of hope in his eyes. He wasn't big, and he wasn't strong, but he carried a dream in his heart that was bigger than the entire lifeless field. While others saw what was, he saw what could be. In his small hand, he held a single, tiny seed of promise of a different future. With a heart full of hope, he took his first step onto the cracked soil. He knelt down, his knees dusty, and with gentle, careful hands, he made a small hollow in the dry earth. He placed his very first seed into this little pocket of ground, his face a picture of concentration and care. It was a simple act, a small seed in a vast, empty land. But for the boy, this wasn't just planting a seed, it was planting a belief. It was the first word in a long story he was about to write on the face of the earth. As he worked, whispers turned into chuckles among the villagers. They saw his small figure toiling under the sun and shook their heads. What a foolish boy, some would say, wasting his time on dead land. They would gather in small groups, pointing and laughing at his seemingly pointless effort. To them, it was a child's fantasy, a game that would soon end in disappointment. But their laughter was just a sound in the wind to the boy. He heard them, but he chose to listen to the quiet hope in his heart instead. The boy said nothing back. He didn't argue or try to explain his vision. Words were not needed. His actions were his voice. As the sun began to set, casting long, dramatic shadows across the land, he was still there, alone, with the setting sun as his only companion. He continued to plant. His movements were steady, filled with a silent, unwavering determination. The fading light painted him in hues of orange and gold, turning his solitary work into a beautiful, quiet promise. He wasn't just planting seeds, he was planting his resolve. This became his daily rhythm. Every morning, as the sun climbed into the sky, the boy would make the journey across the dry, dusty land. He carried a small, warm bucket filled with water he had carefully collected and a pouch of seeds, his precious cargo. The walk was long and the sun was often hot, but his steps never faltered. Day after day, he brought life-giving water and the promise of new growth to the thirsty ground. His commitment was as reliable as the rising of the sun. Then, one morning, something magical happened. As the boy made his usual rounds, a flash of green caught his eye. He knelt down, his heart pounding with excitement. There, breaking through the hard, cracked surface of the soil, was a tiny green sprout. It was so small, so delicate, yet so incredibly vibrant against the dull brown earth. A wide smile spread across the boy's face, his eyes shining with pure joy. It was more than just a plant. It was a sign. Hope had taken root. That first tiny sprout was just the beginning. Weeks melted into months. The sky above the land changed from the harsh sun of summer to the softer light of autumn. And with the changing seasons, the land itself began to transform. The single sprout was joined by others, and soon, small green plants dotted the landscape. They grew taller and stronger, reaching for the sky. It was a slow, patient dance of growth, a testament to the boy's relentless effort. Even as the first signs of life appeared, the boy was still very much alone in his mission. The villagers, set in their ways, walked past the growing patches of green without a second glance. They saw his continued work, him watering the young saplings under a cloudy sky, and still, they did not believe. Their indifference was a silent, constant challenge. But the boy didn't need their approval or their help. His faith in his vision was enough. He continued to nurture his growing garden, his spirit unbroken. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the land began to heal. The small patches of green started to spread, connecting with each other like a living quilt being laid over the barren ground. The small saplings grew into young trees, their leaves creating dappled shade where none had existed before. The relentless sun, which once baked the earth, now found its light breaking through the clouds and filtering through a canopy of new leaves. The very color of the land was changing from brown to green, and with the return of the plants came the return of life. The silence of the barren land was broken by the cheerful chirping of birds. who found new homes in the branches of the young trees. Small animals, like rabbits and squirrels, scurried through the undergrowth, their presence adding a new layer of vitality to the landscape. The air, once still and heavy, now buzzed with the hum of insects and the rustle of leaves. The land was no longer lonely, it was becoming a community. The transformation was now too great to ignore. The villagers, who had once laughed, now stood at the edge of the field, their mouths agape. They pointed, their eyes wide with disbelief and amazement. The barren wasteland they had known their whole lives was vanishing, replaced by a young, thriving forest. They looked at the green expanse and then at the boy, who was still quietly working. Their laughter had turned to awe. They were witnessing a miracle born from one boy's stubborn hope. Years passed. The young saplings grew into tall, majestic trees. The ground, once cracked and dry, was now covered in a soft carpet of fallen leaves and lush grass. What was once a barren field was now a magnificent, dense forest, teeming with life. Sunlight streamed through the thick canopy, creating a magical, cathedral-like effect on the forest floor. The air was cool and fresh, filled with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers. The boy's dream had grown into a living, breathing reality. The boy, of course, had grown up too. He was a man now, his face lined with the wisdom of time, but his eyes still held the same gentle light. His hands, though older, were just as careful as they had ever been. He stood in the heart of the forest he had created, a calm confidence in his posture as he planted another tree. His work was never truly finished. Planting had become a part of who he was, a lifelong conversation with the earth. His patience, his unwavering belief, had turned a forgotten patch of dust into a legacy of green. As the sun rose, casting a warm, golden glow over the thriving forest, the man stood peacefully, a silent guardian of his creation. He showed everyone that with a single seed of hope and the courage to nurture it, even the most barren land can be transformed. One person, with enough determination, can create a forest, not just of trees, but of inspiration for generations to come.